Kaminari yawned loudly in the cold, crisp air while he walked through the streets upon the compact snow. As much as he would prefer to take his car, the streets weren't safe to use any transport until councils were able to plough most of it. He stretched his limbs above him to get rid of the almost numbing feeling that crept up his spine. Still, the crisp, chilly air kept him awake, and was his most primary motivation to get to Midoriya's apartment. That, and...
"You're still tired?"
you asked while walking alongside him.
"How late did you stay up last night?"
I didn't.
He replied.
I think I overslept.
"Yeah, actually, I think you did."
You cracked a smile at the man before you wrapped a large jacket around your body. Thanks to Kaminari, you were able to at least purchase some winter clothing for the coming season. With his supervision, of course. You were still a wanted villain, at least in your mind you were, but to the Commission you were under their supervision and protection. In a way. After all, Kaminari was your bodyguard. On paper, anyway. The weight of your ankle was becoming the norm, feeling the tracking device every so often due to the cold.
Man, I hope I can pep myself up tonight,
spoke Kaminari.
"I'm sure you will,"
you piped.
"You did during your reunion, right?"
Kaminari turned to you, a little bashful about that night, remembering how he acted and recalling a few moments of when he was a little drunk. Well, very drunk, according to you, but a harmless one, almost sweet. It made his cheeks pink, thinking about it. You only chuckled at his response. He had always been a little embarrassed after you had described what had happened.
"Sorry, I'm just teasing,"
you apologized.
"But thanks for inviting me as a +1.
Oh, no, Midoriya insisted,
explained Kaminari, catching you unawares of his response.
It's Christmas. Everyone should be surrounded by friends and not be left alone. I did think about it, that I shouldn't leave you by yourself.
I'm flattered. Thank you, Kaminari.
That large grin spread across his face while he felt your hands on his arm, hugging onto it while you walked together. Kaminari was still getting used to having to look after you due to his job, but also realizing that you had grown a little closer. Perhaps his time spent with you was starting to grow on you, he thought. He genuinely wanted to understand you, about this past that the both of you inadvertently shared despite it being a dark part of history.
Hey, I guess you'll get to meet a few classmates up close and personal,
chirped Kaminari, still with that grin.
I think you'll get along with a few. Maybe even Jirou.
Jirou? Earphone Jack?
Yeah! Oh, I guess you probably know her already, considering your virtual idol career.
But of course, I actually worked with her on a few songs.
Really? I should have introduced you both at the reunion, if I wasn't so drunk.
You giggled at his replies, still astounded by his remarkable timing regardless of any event. He was still an enigma, a riddle, a mystery, however that quote ran in your head.
Do you need me to look out for you this time?
You asked, playfully. Kaminari smiled as he shook his head, placing his hand on yours. Everything grew quiet while you noticed people thinning out for the evening, probably all heading home for their festivities. After all, it was Christmas Eve. Kaminari eventually pointed out the apartment block where Midoriya lived. To actually step foot in the number one hero's home was surreal, especially after you recalled how the war played out from your side. To be walking alongside someone on the other side, the heroic side, still felt like a dream. You weren't met with hate or prejudice, but with a cheerful and warm welcome. Midoriya was nothing but hospitable next to his partner, who was more than happy to welcome you into their home. You noticed others had arrived before the both of you, some curious of your presence and eventually making conversation. A few of them knew of who you were, whether Kaminari had either introduced you briefly in his drunken stupor or by secondhand chatter with Kaminari himself. It was still a pleasant experience, except for the angry blonde whom you've learnt was the Ground Zero. You made a note to keep your distance from him. The night continued on with a hearty dinner, something you hadn't enjoyed with company for a long time, before eggnog was shared amongst everyone. You eyed Kaminari every now and then about the consumption of his eggnog quota, but noticed that he was being responsible this time around. Perhaps it may have been because you were now present, a villain amongst everyone's midst. Still, you were surrounded by all pro-heroes of every sector by the looks of it, and with your anklet prohibiting your quirk, even if you wanted to, you wouldn't last in this apartment.
You're the idol?
Asked a voice beside you, turning to find a purple-haired beauty, dressed in warm dark clothes with impressive makeup.
Oui?
You replied, your native tongue slipping a bit with your confusion. The woman brought her hand out openly with a warm smile on her face.
Finally great to meet you face to face,
she explained.
Kaminari wouldn't shut up about you at the reunion.
Jirou?
You slowly asked, earning another smile from the woman. You smiled back, taking her hand into a handshake.
I should say the same thing about you. Nice to meet you face to face.
Jirou peered at you before her eyes drifted to Kaminari, hang out with the rest of his friends while they were poking fun at Bakugo.
You know, I think it takes a lot of guts to bring you here.
She motioned.
What do you mean?
Well, your reputation has preceded you. Like a lot. But Kaminari trusts you enough to bring you here.
Well, I did ask if it would make anyone uncomfortable.
It's not that,
concluded Jirou.
Everyone here is aware of your past to some degree. I don't know what you did, but Kaminari's judgment holds a lot of weight. Well, some of the time.
You turned to the woman, who smiled back calmly and without any malice in her expression.
If he brought you along, he sees something in you that isn't as bad as the public would paint it.
You smiled at Jirou, feeling your heart swell at her words. It looked as if she and Kaminari must have been close, at least enough for that kind of analysis from a former classmate.
Merci, Jirou.
You thanked.
I shall enjoy the eggnog with clarity.
Before you do that,
interrupted Jirou, pointing towards the same group of friends Kaminari hung around, listening to a few tone-deaf caroling.
Want to show them how it's done?
What do you suggest?
You coyly replied.
A good opener that's not as cheesy as Rudolph?
Jirou chuckled under her breath, standing to her feet while heading towards the kitchen.
I have something in mind, but we'll need some makeshift instruments.
You smirked at the idea, following after Jirou into the kitchen. A couple of pots, some utensils, and upon returning to the lounge, taking some sleigh bells from the Christmas tree, at least with a close enough chime. The next few minutes involved conversing with Jirou with an attack plan before setting yourselves up by a couple of chairs. The caroling from a drunk Kirishima and Sero filled the corner of the lounge, earning a few laughs and some gripes. Everyone knew who got into the eggnog a little too much, while Kaminari watched his friends singing joyfully. It reflected on how he must have acted at the reunion. Hopefully not to this extent of entertainment.
Ugh, shut up, the both of you,
yelled Bakugo.
You're making my ears bleed.
Yeah, I think that's enough caroling from you guys.
Agreed Kaminari.
Besides, maybe someone else wants a turn.
They seemed to ignore both Kaminari and Bakugo still swaying while they sang a tone-deaf version of Feliz Navidad until the chime of sleigh bells echoed in the room. Their voices died down slowly upon hearing the tap of utensils and pots, creating the tempo and rhythm of the performance about to begin. Kaminari's eyes turned towards the Christmas tree, widening in surprise to find the sight before him. Jirou and yourself sat by the Christmas tree, playing with sleigh bells and the pots as makeshift drums to a beat very familiar for Christmas. The a cappella between the two of you started softly, easing into the carol before Jirou began the verse, the sound of the carol of the bells filling the room. You joined in as her background, your voice echoing in a myriad of tones. Though you couldn't use your quirk, you knew how to sing alone, providing the backdrop to Jirou's beautiful tone. Kaminari listened to the both of you, hearing your voice almost meld into Jirou's. The tone resonated inside, remembering that moment back at the convention center, the warm sensation of his quirk empowering him, and yet having no control of his faculties. Without your quirk enabling that feeling, he only felt the warmth and tenor of your voice inside his ears. However, looking around, everyone enjoyed the performance. All eyes on Jirou and you, with nothing but your voices filling the air. He saw the smile on your face, the happiness that shone while you sang with Jirou. It was as if you were in your element, sharing your gift without any judgment or recourse. And he too smiled, his eyes warm, watching you. A few carols had passed, some with requests from people around the room before both Jirou and yourself retired for the night. It was a surprise to Kaminari when after the carols Midoriya had proposed just outside, earning all of the cheers and coos from everyone inside the apartment. You turned to the now newly engaged couple, smiling at the sight, laughing in happiness, something that you had purely not felt in many years. The drunk caroling continued from there, while social conversation taught you more about his friends and former classmates than the reunion ever gave. Soon, Kaminari informed of his leave, saying your goodbyes to everyone at Midoriya's before you exited the apartment, but not before you were given a stocking along with Kaminari, as well as another pair of stockings for some friends who couldn't make the Christmas dinner. Kaminari happily obliged to take them, earning a curious look from you before he waved it off nonchalantly. The walk was quiet while you perused through the stocking you were given. A few party trinkets were present, typical of some filling you figured, but the touch of the felt against your fingers brought a smile to your face.
What did you think?
Asked Kaminari next to you.
About the party? Everyone is so nice.
You concluded with that smile still on your face.
I think this is the first Christmas I've spent with people in a long time.
I'm happy you think so,
spoke Kaminari.
And thank you for reintroducing me to Jirou,
you added.
It was great to sing with her again.
So, she's never seen you before tonight?
Oui.
You've really kept yourself a secret. Huh?
Your smile saddened a little at the thought, your eyes landing back on the stocking in your hands.
I had to,
you answered.
Because of the general, right?
That sad smile turned into a slight grimace of him mentioning that rank again. Following up on Kaminari's life also helped in following your life undercover, seeing that any gossip about the virtual idol was all the rage after the hostage situation, but soon died out when very little information was found. You were thankful for that turn of events, but it left you without a mask or a shield to protect you. The risk was too great.
Sorry, I'll leave it alone.
Apologized Kaminari.
We shouldn't be talking about these things tonight.
You dug your hand into the stocking, finding something wrapped before you pulled it out. Within clear cellophane wrap was a cookie shaped as a treble clef. Confused at first, you stared at its design. It wasn't professionally made, but the care in it was evident.
Oh, cool!
Exclaimed Kaminari with a grin.
Midoriya made one for me too!
You turned to find a lightning bolt-shaped cookie along with another one in the shape of long pointed ears, recognizing the mascot almost instantaneously. You chuckled at the sight of them, your lips cracking into a giggle.
Pikachu?
You stifled a laugh, only earning a heavy sigh from Kaminari.
Midoriya's now newly engaged fiancé seems to think so.
He exhaled in defeat. The bubbling in your throat escaped without remorse, giggling at the thought of Kaminari with Pikachu-like ears and a tail.
I'm more of a Jolteon, really.
He remarked with a proud air about his own observation.
Well, no matter what, you'll always be my, roi de la fille.
You chirped, happier than you felt in the moment before you curtsied towards Kaminari.
Thank you for tonight.
Kaminari bowed towards you, offering his arm while he did so.
All in a day's work. Mon ange.
By the way, do you know what I've been calling you?
You asked inquisitively.
Never mind.
You gladly took his arm while he escorted you on the street, your heart swelling with happiness that you wished you could contain in a bottle forever. The snow soon arrived, landing softly on your hair and his. Every now and then Kaminari would brush some off the top of your head playfully, while you did the same for him, humming the tune of the sleigh bells through the empty streets. Thank you for tuning in to another fanfiction reading. If you love the content, like what I do, or would just prefer to fall asleep to the sound of my voice, ring the bell, hit the like button, and please subscribe to my channel. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas holiday and a happy new year. Thank you for visiting. I hope to hear back from you soon, next time we meet.